So this weekend is the Manchester derby, and I think Manchester United fans are looking at this a little bit like it's Mission Impossible. I mean, just look at that Manchester City team. They're tall, they're strong, they're quick, they're technical, and they're incredibly ruthless in the final third. So it feels a little bit like a lost cause. But don't worry, today I have a 5-step program which United should follow in order to get all 3 points. Step 1. Construct a starting 11 consisting of speed, power and technical ability. Now my preferred lineup for this game probably has a couple of shocks in there, but don't jump on my back just yet. Give me some time in this video to explain what I'm talking about, because we had this last year. I previewed the Liverpool game after United had lost to Brighton and Brentford at the start of the season, and I said Elanga was the key. Guess what? Elanga turned out to be the key. United went on to win. So just bear with me with this one. Onana in goal, pretty obvious. Reguilon and Dalot at fullback, pretty obvious. Maguire and Varane, the two most informed centre-backs, it makes sense. Sophie and Amrabat alongside Scott McTominay. We're going to use the ball carrying of these two, also the strength and the technical ability of Amrabat. We've got Bruno Fernandes back in the middle where he belongs. Marcus Rashford on the right-hand side, which we will come on to a little bit later. Mason Mount on the left wing and Rasmus Højlund up front. So that is step 1 complete. The starting 11 is done. Step 2. At all costs, do not take the bait. You may want to reach out and get it, but do not take the bait in this game. So what do I mean when I sit here and say don't take the bait? Well, basically what I mean is Manchester City will take their time on the ball, and their idea always is that they're going to drag you onto them. People like John Stones, Ederson in goal will take their time, and like I said there, they always want to drag you onto them because they know that if you do that, if you press them high, they have the ball playing ability to get out of trouble and attack these spaces in the middle of the park. United cannot afford to do that, because if we see that sort of game, Manchester City have far too many technical players which will rip the Manchester United press to shreds and leave too much room in the midfield, which Manchester City will capitalise upon with the likes of Phil Foden coming inside and Julian Alvarez running forward. So step 2, don't take the bait. United need to sit off in more of a mid-block. Do not go high and aggressive in a press. Instead, sit off a bit more like this. Again, we're in a mid-block here. We're not in a low block. We're not parking the bus, but we're just restricting the spaces in between our lines, making it more difficult for Manchester City to progress the ball forward. So that is step 2. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. Step 3. Control the spaces, in particular these half spaces. Now step 3 is where it gets a little bit more complicated, because Manchester City love to control the space, but you have to make sure that they don't. We saw there that Pep Guardiola likes to split the pitch into lots of different sections and always have players in those areas, particularly in the half spaces where we'll see Julian Alvarez and Bernardo Silva popping up like this. It is vital that Manchester United do not leave these spaces. So how can Manchester United go about not putting pressure on the ball while still, controlling the space of the pitch? It doesn't really make sense. Well, it does when you factor in the shape which Manchester City will most likely use. Now, yes, there's a chance they spring a surprise, but I would imagine John Stones will play at centre-back and step forward into midfield, because that is what he has done in the games that he has played since he returned from injury, leaving Manchester City with a back 3 in possession of Kyle Walker, Ruben Dias and Gvardiol. Now, the key here is again not to let Manchester City get the ball in these half spaces, either deep in their own half or high in the Manchester United half. So how do you do that? Basically, you have to match them up. You have to go man for man in these areas. So Rasmus Højlund, we're going to drop deep onto John Stones, and Bruno Fernandes onto Rodri. Now you might think it's now far too easy for the Manchester City back 3 to progress the ball forward, but this is where our inclusion of Mason Mount and Marcus Rashford comes in handy, and it's the reason we've got them this way round. Kyle Walker is the bigger attacking threat out of the two fullbacks, so I think Mason Mount's defensive work rate and capabilities makes that a better matchup for him. Whilst Marcus Rashford seems, better suited to dealing with Gvardiol, who most likely won't push forward quite as much. But the idea here for United is for the wingers to get high on these two wider centre-backs, or essentially full-backs, in these positions and not let the ball be progressed in these areas. Step 4, set the trap in the middle of the park. So now we set the trap. The two wingers have stopped Manchester City from moving the ball forward down the line, meaning that ultimately they are going to be forced inside. Now this might seem a little bit risky, forcing Manchester City inside the pitch where they're so brilliant. Surely you're going to get hurt, but not if you follow the principles that we've applied so far. So first of all, don't take the bait. When Ruben Dias or Ederson's taking their time on the ball, don't go squeeze them high. Next up, the wingers are going to control the space and force Manchester City inside. Well, actually, for once, we have a Manchester United side here with some real physical attributes. Bruno Fernandes' energy is brilliant. Rasmus Højlund is extremely energetic, but also physical. The same for Scott McTominay and also Sofian Amrabat. McTominay against Alvarez from a physical point of view is a bit of a mismatch. The same with Amrabat against Bernardo Silva. Now, of course, Manchester City are incredible. They will have spells where they will still play through the middle because they are so good. However, if Amrabat can get tighter to Bernardo Silva, McTominay tighter to Alvarez, and again Højlund and Fernandes on the double pivot for Manchester City, we can force City into these areas from where you overturn the ball. But it's all about being patient and calm in this position. Step 5. Sit back, be patient, but when a chance comes, make sure that you strike forward. So the question is, how do you actually do that? How do you spring the counter-attack? Well, initially we're going to use the ball carrying of Scott McTominay and Sofian Amrabat. The idea basically is that we are making this a real brawl in the centre of the park. We're using Manchester United's physicality to win the ball back. From here, Scott McTominay and Sofian Amrabat are Manchester United's two best ball-carrying midfielders, and they also have really good strength, allowing them to hold off the likes of Bernardo Silva and also Julian Alvarez, striding forward, carrying the ball forward into dangerous positions, hence setting up the counter-attack. We then have Rasmus Højlund, who can take advantage of John Stones stepping out of position into midfield. Højlund now has this space which he can attack. And of course, we've got Bruno Fernandes in a more central position than in recent weeks, allowing him to get on the ball and create opportunities. But a big battle here is Marcus Rashford up against Gvardiol. It's going to be a real battle. This would be a great test of the two, but Marcus Rashford on the right-hand side changes the way in which he attacks. It changes the dynamics, and in my opinion, often makes him a bit more traditional in the way that he scores, particularly if the ball is being built down the left-hand side. You see, when Marcus Rashford plays on the left and the ball gets switched to him, he runs wide and then has to do the effort to get the ball back onto his stronger foot. However, if United are able to force City into these positions here, win the ball back on this side of the pitch, then get the ball into someone like, say, Scott McTominay carries the ball forward, get the ball into Bruno Fernandes, and then get the run from out to in of Marcus Rashford, now this is where you can start to be really very threatening on the counter-attack and seriously cause some damage. In my opinion, if Manchester United follow those 5 principles and those 5 steps, we can see another win for Manchester United at Old Trafford against Manchester City. It won't be easy, and of course today we have just scratched the surface of what will really happen in this game. If you want to see more in-depth analysis or more of a preview for this game, make sure to tune into this afternoon's live stream. So get notifications on, subscribe, so you know when I go live. It will be about 1:30 PM this afternoon. We will go live, we will discuss things more in depth. We will talk more about how United can play the ball out from the back, from goal kicks, sustained possession, how City might make tactical tweaks. So make sure to join the live stream for that. But in terms of a brief overview, this is how I think Manchester United can beat Manchester City in the derby. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. But apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.